And Mike, you want to ask the first question? Mike, you're muted.
All right, John, can you speak and see if we can hear you pretty clear?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. I couldn't hear Kyle.
Okay, great. We're good to go then?
Yeah, I think we are.
All right.
You want to say something off the bat, or do you want us to just pepper you with questions first?
No, it's been fun to be out there, and got a couple days under our belt now, and we got a big bulk of install in, and guys are just trying to really hone in on the details. And it's a group of guys that work hard and care about football, and now we're just trying to detail it up as best we can moving forward. But they've handled the first couple of days of install well, and now in our meetings tomorrow, and have another chance for a light install on Thursday, and then be able to scrimmage a little bit of this work on Saturday. So I'm excited where we're at right now, but it's still very early, and got to hone in on the details.
John, this is Mike Brohard from CSU. What did you bring in with you, and what meshed well with what was already in place, being your first year here?
I'd say what meshed well was obviously the success of the running game that Coach Adazio's had, not just here but at Boston College, and a lot of the same things that we implemented in my time at Wisconsin. So there's a very natural fit with that. The pass game and the play action, there's some carryover. I'd say there's a couple things that I've added that I've liked that we did, and then really probably the most new that I've brought in is the drop back passing game, and being able to implement that whatever the situation may be early in the downs, particularly second and long, third down, and it's going to be a big emphasis in the red zone. So I think we aligned pretty well when it came to run game, play action. A lot of that played off of each other with some of the stuff we did at Wisconsin, but in the drop back game, I've tried to implement some of the things that I believe in that I think can help us have success in those situations.
Steve said the other day that Toddy has it. But he said it's your job to develop everything else around that. What are the things that you were focused on with Todd and elevating his game physically?
I'd say, first off, I know you mentioned physically, but I think it's got to start mentally. He does have the it factor. He's a natural leader, and guys really gravitate towards him. The team respects him and appreciates everything he brings to the table. But the mental side of it, growing his football IQ, we're spending a lot of time on right now. And that's a pretty broad term, but it's understanding situations, it's understanding coverages, it's understanding what we're trying to get accomplished, whether it's run game, pass game, protections. There's a lot that goes into it, and he's been amazing so far. He cares about the game a ton. He wants to be coached up hard, as does the whole group, but Toddy certainly is setting the standard for that unit. And so from a mental standpoint, we're starting there. We want to continue to grow that, and then physically, he's got all the tools to be successful. He can make the throws we're going to ask him to make. He does a good job extending plays, creating throws down the field, or creating conversions with his legs. So physically, there's not a whole lot that I have to spend time on. I spend a ton of time on the feet, upper body. He's smooth when it comes to throwing, and so I'm not going to mess with that. But we are going to be we rely on our feet a lot in the pass game, because that dictates where we go with our progressions, what type of rhythm we're in, and so we'll spend a ton of time with drops, working those. But the big thing that we're stressing this spring that I am with Toddy is growing that football IQ, which he's been all in on. And just this short few weeks I've been here, I've seen growth with that.
Hey, John, Eddie with the Reporter Herald. Don't think I've had a chance to meet you yet. Just curious, are there any similarities you see in Toddy's game with any of the quarterbacks you worked with at Wisconsin? I knew Graham Mertz could kind of move his legs a little, so.
Yeah, I think really one, that kind of jumped out to me just with his playmaking ability. And really, I mentioned it when I first saw him throw because the mechanics are so similar, but was to Russell. I had cross paths with Russell when I was playing, and there was actually a lot of carryover with the upper body mechanics that I see to that. Certainly his demeanor when he plays, he has a lot of confidence, and he has an ability to extend plays, but he extend plays with the willingness to throw the ball down the field, which I think that's a strength, and that's not a lot of guys that can have that in their game. They often look to run, and that's their only option. Whereas Toddy, he's got that as part of his game, and that's something I'm trying to bring more out in him, is that ability to when things do break down and he does create, as that's a strength of his, is to run. Also, that's when a defense gets vulnerable and they want to collapse, and so being able to take advantage of some movement throws when he does get outside the pocket. But I'd say that's probably the biggest comparison, just from a throwing mechanic standpoint. In the short time I've seen him throw, that jumped out to me.
Just, I know, kind of similar to CSU, Wisconsin dealt with a lot of COVID shutdowns, kind of ruined the rhythm last season. Did, kind of being forced to overcome that, is that something that you kind of feel like helped you grow in the profession, grow as a coach, just figuring all that out?
Yeah, it definitely did. I think you can take it as far as outside of football. I mean, a lot of us with families, you learn to get through a strange time that has been the last year or plus, and you get through those times together and you lean on each other. And I know that's certainly what I did with my family, and football is an extension of your family. These teams are our families, and the players, the coaches, that's why we love being a part of it, is because it's a big family, and you do that same thing to get through tough times. You lean on each other, you support each other, you push each other, and you're going to come out of it the other end stronger. And that's certainly what a lot of people have done throughout the country, and being a part of a football team going through that time was no different. Sorry, I can't hear you, Kelly.
Can you hear me now?
Kelly,
Yep,
yeah,
now
now
I
we can.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Just wanted to
Kelly,
ask you
announce
real.
where you're from, just so he gets familiar.
I think I did. This is Kelly Lyell with the Fort Collins, Coloradoan. John, I wanted to ask you, as much as anything, there's a lot of pressure certainly that gets put on Todd Centeio right now as kind of the heir apparent, the quarterback. The only guys behind him are true freshmen and a couple walk-ons. How do you kind of prepare him mentally for that? How do you keep that from maybe kind of crushing him? Because that can be a pretty tough situation to be in sometimes, holding it all the way through.
Yeah, the big focus for him is getting better each day. As long as he continues to improve, a lot of that stress, a lot of that pressure gets put on the quarterback, because it's an important position, but his approach can't be any different than the rest of the guys on the team. Coach Dozier stresses it each day, the details, and how are we going to improve and get incrementally better each day. And that's what I'm stressing to Toddy, and he's got to hone in and really trust and embrace and enjoy the process. And that process is a day-to-day process that we're going to study film. He's going to do stuff on his own. We're going to be on the practice field. He's going to have a mistake that he's going to learn from. He's going to do something well that he needs to build on. All those things, those are all part of the process. And if he can truly just jump in and dive full into that process, he's going to be fine. And the rest of that will take care of itself. And we just talk about being in the moment. And that's what he's got to do each day. And he's a tremendous leader. The impact he has on this team is great. He knows there's certain areas that he wants to get better and improve on. And so when you're so focused on that, a lot of the outside stuff kind of washes away.
I guess the second part of that is, with 4 freshmen as your other quarterbacks, certainly a couple of them are redshirt guys that were around, at least one of them, and 2 of them are here this spring as true freshmen. How do you get somebody ready for that number 2 job? Because that's going to be critical, because that something could happen to Todd during the season.
Yeah, there's a sense of urgency with that, but you don't want to. You can't get too far ahead of yourself when you're managing that, because if you try to get everything in and you want it to be, guy number 4 to know what guy number 1 knows, right? Or 4th string to know what 1st string knows, then those reps are going to deteriorate, and they're going to really not be good reps for them. And so there's a process to it. There's you got to slow down the teaching just a bit, and there's building blocks. And those young guys, they're learning. The first thing is learning where everybody lines up, learning what the calls are, formations, motions. Then implementing the concepts and being right with their footwork in the run game, their decision making, and then understanding what routes go with what concept. There's a lot that goes to it, and you want them to have urgency as they're learning, but you certainly don't want to get too far ahead of it to where the reps they get become counterproductive. And so we're approaching that the right way. I feel confident in that, and we'll get those guys up to speed, and they're going to get enough reps this spring to be able to learn and be able to feel that muscle memory as they go forward.
Hey, John, Justin Michael of DNVR here. A lot of the attention naturally goes to Trey McBride, but you've got Cam Butler, Brian Palendi, a lot of talent in the tight end room. What have you learned about that group so far, and what kind of impact do you see them having for the offense this season?
I love that group. They're a fun group of guys that, like I said, care a ton about football and care about getting better. And so I've enjoyed their approach. I know that, Coach Booth works hard with that group to pay attention to the details, both in the run and pass game, but they're a talented group. And Trey obviously does a lot of things well. And, Cam's getting healthy right now, which is going to be great once he's back this summer and rolling. And like you mentioned, Brian brings a lot to the table. And so that group, when you have that sort of athleticism and more than anything, the mentality that group carries, you can be multiple in what you do. And they put enough into the details that you feel confident moving them into different spots and that they're not going to screw things up within the concepts or within the run game. So it's been fun to work with them. I'm excited to continue to see what their strengths are so that we can build it around them.
Kind of looking at the NFL game and some of the elite tight ends, Darren Waller, Kelsey, a lot of these guys, they're revered for their pass catching abilities. But, Trey and Cam, they're really talented as run blockers. Is that something that, you're really looking forward to as a coach, especially given that, you've mentioned the running philosophy and how that kind of translates with how you've come over?
Yeah, I think that's a huge strength. The more complete you can be as a player, it's no different than what we'll stress to our guys, whether it's a skill guy or a big guy, being able to put yourself on a special teams unit is huge because it just adds to your value. And our tight ends are no different. Whether we ask them to line up in line, we split them out. We ask them to do their job in the run game, pass game. They're dynamic enough to be able to handle all those roles. So I think anytime you can add to what you can do, it brings a lot of value.
John, going back to Toddy, you said you like a lot about his upper body, but you also focus on footwork. So where do you put his footwork right now? And where does he, I guess, have the most room to make growth?
Yeah, so footwork is a priority that I value in the quarterback position. And with Toddy, he's working at it each day because one of the first things we addressed and he embraced it is the importance of drops and rhythm, because that's going to help him work through his progressions. And when his drops and rhythm are aligned, then he can trust the timing of the play. Whereas when he's, we'll kind of talk when you're hanging on a route. Well, when you're hanging on a route, your feet are probably starting to get going a little crazy on you. And so we have a very systematic way of teaching the drops along with the progressions. And it's something that it's not an area of growth that he needs to address. It's more just continuing to understand the way I teach it and the verbiage that I use. And then once he gets it, it takes one time and then he's got it, so it's just a muscle memory, but there's a variety of different things that I'm teaching. And so with that, you got to get it once, you kind of rep it, go a little bit 50%. All right, now let's bump up to 75%. All right, now Toddy, roll with it and let's go game tempo. And so it's just a matter of feeling it, building the muscle memory, and then understanding the importance of it. And it's something we'll stress every day and we'll continue to, because I think it's a big part of playing quarterback.
When you talk about joining the staff as an offensive coordinator, is this almost an ideal time because they've only been here for 1 year and it was really a helter-skelter, incomplete kind of year? You know what I'm talking about? I mean, they don't have like a fully established fundamental idea yet. They're still working on it themselves.
Yeah, I was excited to join the staff because I know there was a lot of things that aligned with what Coach Adazio wanted to see on offense, and also some of the things that I could bring to the table to impact it in a positive way. And so, I think our unit is similar to our team. We're trying to establish an identity that pays attention to the details, values the details, puts the team first. Obviously it's about the team and the unit, and the individuals are an awesome part of that, but you can't put yourself ahead of that ever. And so I think, as I'm continuing to implement it with our offensive staff, we spent a lot of time those first few weeks seeing, really what did we want to do? How do we want to, put different formations, personnel sets out there, and then who do we want to get the ball in the hands of, and how are we going to do that and help them, put them in a position to be successful? So it's been fun building it out. We're still early in that process, but continuing to see what the strengths of this offensive unit has been fun these first couple days.
Okay, guys, one more for John, if anybody's got one.
John, just beyond the football side, you've moved across the country essentially. How have you adjusted to Fort Collins so far, and have you had a chance to kind of visit, some local places? I know it's difficult given the circumstances, but are you
Right.
starting to feel acclimated to your new surroundings?
I am. It's a beautiful, beautiful city in Fort Collins, and it's been adjustment. It's been busy with football, so that's consumed a lot of my time. But you know what? My wife Caitlin, my daughter Sienna, they were able to get out here for a stretch of about a week, and we were able to kind of run around and just get familiar with this place a little bit. And it's beautiful. I mean, there's no doubt in that. It's a beautiful area, and we're kind of working towards hopefully getting the whole family back together here, maybe mid-April. My wife, she's been awesome. Caitlin's been taking care of everything back in Madison, and it was a quick transition, and she had to take on a lot of the selling of the house and everything that comes with a major move for a family, and also dealing with a 1-year-old all the time. So it's been great. We're rolling with it, and we're excited to get out here officially and dive all into Fort Collins. But I've had a lot of fun just getting to drive around a little bit and see all the beautiful scenery, and certainly football has been a big part of my day-to-day though.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you guys. See you.
Thanks.
Guys, I think we'll have Toddy up next.
How y'all doing?
Good. How you doing, Todd?
I'm good.
Hey, Mike Brohard from CSU. So when Steve Adazio and even John talk about you, they talk about you having it. For you, what does that mean?
I believe that's the leadership aspect, and I feel like at my position, I can make a lot of things happen. Like I can create when I get out the pocket. I can run the ball if you need me to, and then with the new passing game that Coach Budmeyer is implementing, I feel like I'm gonna be a lot more efficient than what I previously have shown. So.
When you look at it, you've spent your whole career trying to get to this point. Steve said you're the starting quarterback going into spring. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Does that put pressure on you, or alleviate it, or a little mixture of both?
I feel like I've been trying to get to this point for so long. It just gives me confidence that he's behind me. The whole team's behind me, getting compliments that I'm a leader and all that, and all of that things of that nature make me feel, a lot more confident within myself and within my team. So I'm just, I'm happy and I'm blessed to be here.
Justin Michael here of DNVR. Transferring it is never an easy situation. Anyways, you got to get new teammates, new city, trying to learn a new system. But then, factoring in the pandemic and the program being shut down for the investigation, how hard did it make it for you to kind of, just get used to the new offense last year? And how did that, impact you?
I would say, it was a lot of off and on. Like we were gonna go, we weren't gonna go. So as a player, that's kind of like we want to know if we're gonna go, if we're not, because then you always have to the quote, stay ready for so you don't have to get ready. Like I feel like that holds truth, but at the same time, we're college students. We're 22 years old. We're 21 years old. Like if you're saying we're not going, then we're kind of taking that relaxed state, and we're just gonna go out there, throw around, get have some fun with your teammates and all that. So it wasn't going back and forth from we're gonna go or we're not gonna go. Or the conference canceled it, and the conference came back and said that we were gonna play. So it was just like the whole season last year was just a weird state. It was a weird state from the get-go to the end.
Not trying to get you to say anything bad about Patrick or anything like that, but is it just a little more, I guess, comforting going into this spring, just knowing, you're the guy, you don't have to split reps, you don't have to go back and forth. It's not going to be a situation where it might be, both you or only one of you. You're the guy, you can focus on doing your thing.
I love Patrick. He's a great player. He's a great guy in the locker room as well. But I feel like I shot blank. Ask the question again. You asked me
Just
about
is
Pat,
is
and
it
then
easier going into this process knowing you are the guy? Like, can you relax a little bit, I guess?
I feel like there's urgency, because I want to be what everybody wants me to be, I want to be that guy that everybody can lean on and know that I'm going to make those plays for us. So I have that pressure on myself, but overall there's not as much pressure. But again, I'm not afraid to compete either. So there's always that. If Pat was still here, I would be competing my butt off, same way, trying to get the spot. So.
Hey, Toddy, Eddie with the Reporter Herald here. Just when we were talking to Steve Dazio the other day, he mentioned how kind of there was an injury lingering that kind of held you back last year. I don't think we really knew about that at the time. So just what kind of were the details of that injury for you?
So like early third quarter of Fresno game, I sprained my deltoid ligament in my foot. Usually that's a ligament that people don't usually strain because it's supposed to be one of the strongest in your foot. And that hindered me to play again the second week. And then I was kind of just, trying to nurse it, trying to be as best available as I could be for the rest of the games that we actually got to play. I also had a swollen index finger. So I had it taped to San Diego State. I heard it against Boise. I had sprained my knuckle on my index finger on my throwing hand. So I was dealing with that as well, But you guys, like you said, you guys didn't know. So I was just trying to go out there and make it happen regardless of circumstance.
You still kind of did make it happen despite those injuries, sporadic appearances throughout the season. Just obviously you wish you played more last year, but do you still feel like, getting on the field last season will kind of help you going into this year?
It does, because now I have a feel. Like one thing that I picked up on Pat, like he really trusted Trey regardless of coverage or anything. He really trusted Trey, and I want to implement that into my game too, because Trey is a hell of a player. He makes those 50-50 catches and he gets open. Same thing with Dante. You got to get those guys open. But we have some other great receivers too on this team that this year seems like it's going to be the year that we're going to have a breakout.
This is Kelly Lyell, Colorado. You talked a little bit about getting used to Coach Bud Meyer's offense and all. What do you like? Do you feel like this is a better fit for you than maybe last year's offense? And if so, what are the parts of it that make it better for you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm more comfortable in this offense. Like it's more it's detailed to the fact that it can't waver and you can't do whatever you want. Like he said, the footwork is the biggest thing that makes me comfortable within the play, because it all times up well. Like that's one thing. Like I was going out there before spring ball started, and we'd go to the indoor and throw, and I'm doing the drops. I'm like, wow, these routes are just like timing up perfect with the drops. And when you feel like that, you can be confident in your throw and the read that you make. So that's my most exciting thing about the new offense. And watching the tape and knowing Wisconsin, they're a very efficient team. And that's one thing that we need to improve on going into next season.
Quick follow-up on that. Obviously, coach has made it pretty clear you're the guy the team's counting on, everybody's counting on, but at the same time, things can happen. People can get hurt. Things can happen that could take you out. What can you do to kind of help those guys behind you get ready, because they're all freshmen?
Right. I'm not gonna lie. Like I really feel like I have a purpose now, because I'm the oldest man in the room. So I'm always texting them, like quizzing them, like what is the read on the certain play that we're running, and like they'll send it back, boom, boom, boom. And if they're wrong, then I correct them. Like I hold my own meetings with them and things of that nature. After practice, we sit back and we throw with the receivers and all that. So I really feel like I'm embodying that older guy role to try to get these guys ahead, because even if they are competing with me, I'm getting better. We're all getting better. The team's getting better. So I want them to be as best as they can be, so I can be the best I can be as well.
I've got two more for you, Toddy, and then we'll let you go. One, you've talked about, and so did John, about your footwork. Are you developing, you think, into a quarterback that's trusting his footwork, and how will that help your accuracy?
So the footwork definitely is gonna improve on my accuracy, because it's like I said, everything's on a timing, and it allows me to see it with the certain drop and rip it. I personally, last year, don't believe I I have an accuracy issue because I never thought that was one of my issues going in. But you know, last year was kind of different, and you know, a lot of things played a factor. And you know, I'm just excited for next season, man. I'm just ready to show everyone, show the team, you know, lead this team, and I'm just excited. That's all I can really say.
Under John, as your new quarterbacks coach, he's, I think, your third one at least that you've had in your career. What is he teaching you in fourth? What's he teaching you in film study that you think is going to make you a better quarterback?
So just like alignments is really huge. Like alignments so we go out, he says pre-snap that you have to look at apex, safety every play. And that will show you by alignment, you can eliminate certain coverages that the defense could play. So I feel like, and then it makes the read even faster. So instead of having to go all the way through my progression to get to a route on a certain coverage, I know by alignment, they can't run the other coverages. So I get right there to the open guy in the flat or something like that.
Kelly asked nicely, so I'm going to let him ask you one more and then we'll let you go, okay?
Right.
This is Kelly again from the Fort Collins, Colorado. Just wanted to ask you real quick, as a graduate transfer, what are the things you were looking for when you were picking a school to finish at? How much of it was athletics? How much of it was academics?
To be honest, it was more so athletics, and it was more so where the coaches actually, you know, wanted me, and I felt wanted, and it felt like a family. Because, you know, other schools, you come in as a freshman, then you get with one certain coach, and then they leave, and then now you have a new coach. Now you have to start from square one again, and try to build that relationship with your coaches. But once you hit as a grad transfer, when you hit the portal, it's like who's reaching out to you that actually wants you. And you know, I felt like that right when I took my visit here with Coach Adazio, it felt like a family. And I'm so happy and blessed to be a part of this family.
Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks.
We should have Marcus coming up.
What's up, party people?
How you doing, Marcus?
Not much, just hanging out.
Body feels good after 2 days?
Yeah, you know, you get used to it.
First off, what have you liked about the addition of John as the offensive coordinator?
You know, I think right now the big thing I'm really, you know, pulling from him being added is the fact that, you know, he really has a heavy focus on our third down productivity. Right now, you know, last year that was a big issue that we had. We'd come out going to third down and sometimes be in some really bad situations, and you know, it just sort of seemed like we just didn't really know what to do. Right now, a big heavy emphasis is making sure that on third down, you know, right now we're starting off, you know, a little small implemented here, but it's already set up to be, you know, by the time we get to the end of spring ball, we're gonna have a good little arsenal of, you know, third down plays to put us in really good situations so that, you know, instead of being in, you know, 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, you know, we're getting that first down regardless of what's going on. So.
Has he changed that much, X's and O's, or is it more the way you approach things?
You know, I don't think he really has changed a whole lot of the X's and O's. I think more, you know, adding in different schemes, different looks, trying to get people in different positions. But for the most part, you know, I think the way everybody approaches the situation can be handled a little different. But I think right now his approach is, you know, sort of start small and build off from there.
Hey, Marcus, Justin Michael of DNVR here. The coaches have had high praise for Todd Centeio, the way he carries himself. You've been around a lot of quarterbacks during your time at CSU. You know, what kind of stands out about Todd, and why, you know, why do people believe in him as the guy?
You know, a big thing that I've realized, you know, around being with so many different quarterbacks, they all have their own little personal vibes, and you know, as you're around them more and more, they have their own little, you know, tendencies that you can sort of point out and sort of, you know, figure out. And I think with Toddy is just he has a really strong positive attitude going into a lot of situations. No matter what's going on, you know, it could be late in the game, down by 2 touchdowns, we need to go down and score a point. here's Toddy on the sidelines motivating everybody. Toddy has just a very positive attitude about himself. And I think right now, him being the leader that we look to, it gives everybody a good sense of where we need to be at all the time, and just trying to be positive and look to, always make strides. And I think his big thing is always making strides, regardless of what we're doing. So, he wants us to, as a quarterback, he pushes us to stride on and off the field. So, in the weight room, he wants us to be good. When we're studying plays, anything, he motivates us to all try and, be the best we can, regardless of what's going on.
Marcus, certainly Todd didn't play a ton last season, but how much did just being around him last year help maybe him take over that leadership role for this offense this year?
I think that really put him in a good position. It's kind of hard to try and, I think, make transitions like that without having any experience being around, some of the starting offensive players. So, coming in, you have, a freshman quarterback or anybody that pops up and they just kind of show up and they're trying to build their bonds off, trying to make something new. Well, Toddy got to be with us in the trenches and be with us in the situations where, it's a game time situation, and we got to see how he's going to respond, and he gets to see how the rest of the team responds and how he interacts. And, I think he really melded together well with everything that we had going on last year. And I think going into this year, he just kind of carried over the energy that he had and his mentality of, I want to make sure that we're contending at the best we can every time we play. So.
And Marcus, with the on and off of last year, I mean, you got like half a spring, you get a third of a season. Do you feel like this spring is actually going to give this offense a chance to develop the run game and have you and Ajon become the backs that you want to be in this offense?
I think this spring we really will have the opportunity to build. I think the way everything went last year, everything was so new that it was hard to try and really get into a true rhythm and understanding of things. I mean, we got to a good rhythm by the end of the season of understanding, this is how we're going to practice, this is how everything's going to go. But I think right now, the fact that everybody's confident in, not being able, I should say this, holding each other accountable to, our off the field activities so that we can continue practicing will give everybody the best opportunity to make things last as long as we want. And so I think right now, we as a team have put ourselves in the best position so that right now, whatever area that we need to develop in, we're going to have the full spring to really get it fully developed. And I think right now with the run game, I think once you get everybody back, put everybody in the positions that we need, and we really get the run game going and start implementing more plays, I think we'll be a lot stronger and a lot more prepared and a lot ready, or a lot more in a better position by the end of the spring to really make strides and develop that run game the way I think me and Ajon can really, put ourselves out there for.
What is Brian really stressing upon you guys in that running back room this spring?
The thing is, for right now, me and Ajon have really kind of taken up a lot of things. I sort of took up a lot of things just as, it's my senior, past my senior year, it's going to be my, last possible year playing. And I think I came in and, Coach White always has a positive attitude, but I came in and said, before we started meetings and everything, I wanted everybody to own up and have accountability for everything that they do. And for me, that just means, and you show up, if you mess up or you don't know something, own up to it and be willing to go out and make the changes to fix it. So if you don't know something, come in and meet with Coach. And, he really has been stressing everybody to have their own, accountability to understand what they need to work on. So right now, if it's somebody that needs to understand more about plays, then he stresses to them that you need to know your plays and really get an understanding of what's going on with the plays. Or, for me right now, since I've gotten and developed to the point to where now, I understand plays and I understand concepts and I understand, defensive fronts now, just trying to figure out how to make everything work together and be a full out back that can, not only, go out and play, but actually articulate everything I need so that, if it comes down to it and I get the opportunity to, go into the NFL or sit in those offices, I'm able to be in the best position possible to where if it comes down to, does he know this and he doesn't, I want to be able to say, yeah, I know how to do this and I know how to articulate whatever I need. And I think right now he wants everybody to be at that point because, a big thing that everyone stresses is if you can't say it, you can't do it. And so a big portion of it is just being able to articulate everything that they want us to do. And I think a big focus is Coach White is just trying to push us to be at that point.
Marcus, I know everybody's, decisions are made for individual reasons, but what does it say about CSU football and the relationship that you guys have with these coaches that, so many veterans wanted to come back, Trey McBride, you guys, Manny, some of these guys on defense, people had the option to, transfer elsewhere or potentially go pro. They decided to come back after a 1-3 season. What about the program makes all of you guys want to be a part of it?
I think a big thing that every one of us saw was the potential that we as a team have. Last year, yeah, we did have a few issues here and there, just from a standpoint of, it's a new team and we're trying to get everything together and we had the short spring. But just from even having a short spring and the little bit of fall camp that we had and to play those games, and to most of the time, the games that we played all came down to, bad play by someone here, bad play on, this team. So I think right now, everybody saw that if we came together and really had the opportunity to get a spring, get a summer, get a fall camp, and go into the season, we have a unbelievable team, unbelievable amount of talent, and an ability to go out and really shock the conference and really let people know. And I think a lot of people in the conference already know that, we have a good amount of weapons on the team. Our defensive line is, I think that's probably the best defensive line in the conference, hands down. We have an offensive line that, even with the fact of, trying to learn a whole new offensive scheme, by the end of the season, they picked it up. And next thing you know, we're really rolling and we could really, we challenge ourselves and we accomplish the challenges that we set for ourselves. And I think right now, the thing is everybody put in those challenges for the spring so that we can accomplish them in the spring and be in the fall and set even better goals. And our goals are to really go out and win a conference championship. And right now, I think a lot of our upperclassmen can see that we can do that right now.
Anything else for Marcus? All right. Thank you, sir. You have a great day.
Thanks, Marcus.
Ooh,
Thanks,
thank you.
Marcus.
Gentlemen, you have a
Thanks,
lovely
Mike.
day.
Thanks, Mike.
You too.
Thank you.